The name Eddie Maguire is synonymous with the city of Melbourne, a young boy from Broadmeadows who worked himself up, become one of the most influential people, not only in the football world through journalism and TV, but the business world. However, the past half decade has seen this influence diminish, at least in the form of television and radio appearances. It seems Maguire, intentionally or not, has become a backroom operator instead of the front stage main man. A decision in the not too distant future might be the most important one in terms of this aspect of his life. It could revitalise Maguire back into the thick of everything AFL and give him more influence than he has ever had over the sport. It all has to do with the AFL Commission Chairman, which is just about the most important role in the AFL. It is currently held by Richard Goyder, but he will be moving on by mid next year after 14 years on the commission, the last 8 of which he was chairman. It comes after a tumultuous period for him, and with the clubs wanting a new face and voice, he essentially had no other option but to step down and let someone else take control. It was also made clear the new chair will not be a current member of the commission. It left the race wide open, and this is where Maguire comes into things. His friendship with former Bulldogs president Peter Gordon is front of centre. The Herald's son Stephen Drill had a deeper look into the fight for chairman. When Eddie Maguire stepped down as Collingwood president in the wake of the Pies racism scandal, he had a problem. He still loved going to the football, but no longer ruled the room at the $500 a head President's Lunch function at the MCG. Eddie needed a football lifeline, so he phoned a friend, Peter Gordon. Maguire and Gordon then began a budding relationship around 5 years ago, splitting a $10,000 a game MCG box with David Evans also involved. Now they don't share that box anymore, but do live around the corner from each other in Toorak, catch up regularly for dinner with their wives, and Maguire is reported to have invested $300,000 in Gordon's Melbourne Theranostic Innovation Centre business, which is a high-tech cancer scanning company. So it's clear the two are very tight. It just also happens that Gordon is one of the 3 leading candidates to take over that commission chairman role. Former Geelong president Craig Drummond and ex-Essendon director Peter Allen are the other 2 according to the Australian Financial Review. The race is a fork in the road for Maguire, AFL insiders claim. If Gordon, his friend and business partner, takes over, it's the return of Eddie everywhere. Another source added, "This is all about Eddie. He sees Peter Gordon as a way to get back into the limelight. Peter Gordon will seek his opinion. He will leak him stories. You know how it works." Drill further went on to use another anonymous source who said Maguire raised the possibility to him of getting Gordon the top job to help regain his own power at the AFL, while adding, quote, "There, the AFL, not listening to him with the same vigour as they were when he was a president of a powerhouse club. He's just a media personality now," the source said. "He can't do an activation inside the AFL like he used to." But Maguire did recently catch a big break. Former Collingwood president Jeff Brown, who took over the presidency after Maguire resigned, surprisingly withdrew himself from the chairman job after being mentioned as one of the possible candidates. He and Maguire did have a falling out, mainly to do with Maguire essentially taking sides with Gordon over Brown in the race for commission chair. Drill said the pair met at Maguire's house in September to have it out over what Brown saw as a deep betrayal. A source said he, in Maguire, can't control Brown, but he can control Gordon. One has football acumen, the other doesn't. Gordon declined to comment when asked about that claim. But again, with Brown not going for the role, there are now no more worries for Maguire of a Brown-led commission, which would be the end of all possible influence for Maguire. It seems set up for Gordon to win, and that means it's set up for Maguire to win. People who know Maguire say that he would like to be a part of the AFL Commission. It's one of the few things in football that is not on his CV. He's always been a big thinker. It could be the big rise Maguire has wanted for some time. We know he climbed the ladder from the Herald Sun to Channel 10 to hosting the massively popular footy show, and ultimately, at just 34 years old, taking over the presidency of his beloved Collingwood Football Club. He would hold on to that role for 23 years while still dominating the media and business world. But things of late have not been so smooth. In 2020, his Triple M radio show ended with Luke Darcy, who had differing views of then Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews, a close associate of Maguire's. And then in early 2021, the Do Better report came out. It was leaked early and was all over the Herald Sun and uncovered claims of structural racism at the Collingwood Football Club. Maguire quickly organised a press conference, and it ended up being his finishing point at Collingwood. Maguire took McCrohan's notes that day and added his own views, calling the report a proud day for the Collingwood Football Club. The fallout was intense. He lasted only a week before the AFL and the club accepted his resignation. Mark Corder as interim president alongside new GM of football Graham Wright, then hired senior coach Craig McRae. And since Maguire's departure, Collingwood have become the powerhouse of the competition once again, on field and off it. In 2021, the Pies finished 17th and lost $700,000, and fast forward to the end of 2023, the club had another premiership and made $7.5 million. Without the Pies presidency, Maguire was just another punter in the stand, albeit in very comfortable seats in a corporate box. But he had lost his most loved role, and critiques would argue the seat of his power. Without that Collingwood role, Maguire's star had dimmed. Now he still hosts Footy Classified once a week and has a weekly podcast with Jimmy Bartell. Behind the scenes, his production company Jam TV still produces many AFL shows such as The Agenda Setters, as well as covering VFL, NBL and WNBL matches. Both his sons are successful. Xander is seen all over Channel 7 as a football reporter, and his other son Joe is a punter for the highly prestigious Ohio State Buckeyes in college football. Maguire still has plenty on his plate, but that once gleaming spotlight has dimmed significantly. Maguire was spending more time in America watching his son, and may have been tempted to start thinking about taking a step back from football, perhaps even retirement, but in recent months, Maguire has been climbing back into the spotlight. Despite declaring he was Switzerland when it came to the race for AFL Commission Chairman, and saying he didn't care who won when speaking to Code Sports, with all the inside noise we've seen, it's a contradiction. The Herald Sun reads, Maguire said some AFL insiders were being mischievous and underhanded by dragging him into the debate about the next chair. I'm not into running around playing games, Maguire said. I find it embarrassing. I find it condescending. I find it pure stupidity. These things are being dropped by people in a deliberate campaign. When asked if Peter Gordon was his puppet, Maguire scoffed. Yeah, Peter Gordon rings me up to ask what colour shirt he should wear. He's as much my puppet as Jeff Brown is. Not at all. I'm the most public person there is. If I wanted to be on the AFL Commission, I'd run a campaign and put myself up for it. Maguire on television and in all his recent interviews has absolutely denied having anything to do with supporting Gordon or even having a real interest who becomes the next AFL chairman. But at this stage, it does look likely Gordon will get in, and that could mean the return of power for Maguire. He has plenty of ideas about the game, regularly seen on Footy Classified, and having Gordon in is the perfect ear to whisper in. Remember that high-tech cancer scanning investment Maguire made with Gordon? Well, it looks like one of those will be put into the MCG whenever it is next redeveloped. Maguire said, if this was a piece of equipment that needed to go into the MCG, that's probably a good thing. That's why you have people who know what they are doing in positions of power. Should we get people who have no idea?